sector. Okay. We sort of talked about this in the area unit, but not really. We mostly talked about a semicircle. So we took a circle and we cut it in half. And the difference between this is you take the area of the circle, which is that pi r squared, and you plug in what you need, and then you multiply it, like you plug in the radius, and then you multiply it by whatever the central angle is, divided by 360, which, I mean, it makes logical sense because that central angle is a portion of that 360 degrees, right? So you're going to take whatever portion of that you have and multiply it by the total area. So it's going to end up being smaller than your total area because the sector is smaller than that as well. So you're just going to take, it says find the area, so you're going to say area equals, your x is going to be 120. So like your x is your central angle. So I would suggest writing that here. Your x is your central angle. This. Yeah, and then times pi times 4 squared. And this whole thing can go into the calculator. All right, so we can just grab your calculator, put your little fraction bar, 120 divided by 360 times pi times 4 squared. Yeah, 16 point, and we're going to call it 16. We're going to say 16.8 because that it's going to round up. So random question from Delta where it gives you the angle, it gives you the radius, find the area. So what we just did, and it actually wants it to the nearest hundredth. So I think I'm going to change this to 16.76 instead of 16.8. Just so that like when you get to Delta, you don't accidentally round to the nearest tenth and then get it wrong, because that's super annoying, right? Like, just, I wish it could be a little more consistent with how it wants you to round. But I think they change it up so that you get practice in rounding to different things. Okay, so what we're going to do now, so your central angle is 200. This is that central angle. I'm going to pause and I'm going to give you guys a chance to type this in the calculator. Make sure you kind of are on the right track. And yeah. Okay. So for this one, angle of a, oh, all right. I don't know why I said that. Oh, this, yeah. This has this down here. R is the radius. This is angle of a sector. It's also called the central angle. So there's two things, the angle of sector or central angle. I did not even notice that down there. All right, and then you plug that into the formula, or into the calculator, and you end up with 62.83. So 200 over 360 times pi times the radius squared, 62.83 is that area. Oh goodness, I got a little crazy. That's a 3. Moving on, so I think this might be the same thing. I think this might be a little overkill. But this does give this to you. Like, the reason I put this in here is this is how it's going to be asked. So this one's asking for the area of the sector. So area is, yeah, 112 over 360 times pi times 14 squared, because FG, you can look at the picture and it's the radius. So that can be typed in, and you know, you honestly could just leave this thing in here and change the numbers. I think that might be the easiest thing to do. So I just like copied that down here and changed the 6 to a 14 and the 200 to 112, and you got area equals 191.57. Okay, so what we've done so far, it's pretty just like, you don't even have to put any thought to it, right? I mean, you're literally just typing stuff into a formula. But then we get to the next two problems, and it's asking for different things. So you're trying to find that central angle. That is what you're looking for right now. So I'm going to like put an X right there because that is what we're trying to solve for. All right, and then the easiest thing to do is I'm going to actually take this formula right here and turn it into a proportion. Okay, so I'm going to move this. I'm going to divide both sides by pi r squared and move it over here. And I'll show you what it looks like. But this is the same formula. So this is the area divided by pi r squared equals x over 360. So I want you guys to write this proportion. Okay, So we are finding angle ONP. So this is what we are looking for. ONP, this is, it's X. We have just said that this is X. Now we can plug in all of these other things. So the area of the shaded sector is this 14/9 pi. Don't let that throw you off, okay? Because you're going to end up putting this in a decimal. Okay, so we're just going to plug all these things in. NO is 2, so the radius is 2. So on this top thing, we're going to have 14. And you know what? I mean, the reason it's 14/9 is because it's this like decimal that repeats forever. So it doesn't want to like round early. But we're going to write this 14/9 pi. And then we're going to put that whole thing over pi times the radius squared. So pi times 2 squared equals x over 360. Which this can change to 4 pi. Because 2 squared is going to equal 4. So I'm actually going to change that to 4 pi. Because you can take 2 and plug it into the radius there. Oh, and then this is 360. So I'll pause for a second and make sure you have a chance to write all that stuff in. You're going to cross multiply. And then you're going to solve. All right, so let's show you guys what that looks like. So when we cross multiply, we're going to do 4 times pi times x. And then we're on this side, we're going to do 360 times this like hot mess of stuff. So this is something that you can, I really think this is the easiest way to do this. You're going to multiply, put your little fraction bar in, you're going to do 360 times this 14/9 pi. So y'all see what I have on the top here? Alright. And that's this. And then in order to solve for x and get it all by itself, you're going to divide by 4 pi. So I know this looks crazy, but you're really just cross-multiplying and plugging this stuff into the calculator. And then you're going to divide by 4 pi, and you're going to end up with a whole number. You're going to get 140. If this throws you off, if you're like, okay, what the heck just happened? Like, how did we go from here to here? I'm going to show you another way to do it. When you cross multiply, just go ahead and do 360 times this 14/9. And you can realize that when you cross multiply this, you're going to end up with 560 times pi. All right, so this is one way to look at it, or you can realize that it's 560 pi equals that 4 pi times x multiplied by together. And then you just can multiply them in here. 4. And you're going to end up with 140 either way. So it's whatever makes more sense to you. But ultimately, you're taking these things, you're plugging them into the right spot, first of all, and then you're going to cross multiply. So these two things get multiplied together, and then it gets divided by that. Just make sure you use the little fraction bar thing in your calculator, or you're gonna get off. Okay. All right, let's do one more. And this one's a little bit easier because there's no fraction here, but I wanted to give you one like this in case you see it on Delta, and so it's not just like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this before. So I'm gonna write this formula again: area over pi times the radius squared equals x over 360, and we're gonna plug in things we want, or things that we have. So the area goes here. This goes here. The angle goes here. We are looking for the radius. So, like, this is what we're trying to solve for. I guess I should not write that as... I'm going to write that as r instead of x, because that's confusing with that being an x there. We're going to put this as r. All right, so let's plug these numbers in. 4 pi over pi r squared, because we do not have the radius, right? And then 40 over 360. And then you're going to cross multiply these things. But actually, before I cross multiply, what do you guys see on the top and the bottom here? That is the same. Yeah, it's pi up here, pi down there. You can cancel out the pi's, and those can disappear. So pi cancels out. So you can multiply, so that becomes 40r squared. That gets multiplied together. And then 360 times 4, which 360 times 4, you don't even really have to write this step, I'm just showing you what's happening, is 1,440. And then you would divide by 40 on both sides. And then you take the square root, and you're going to get 6. So, like, this is challenging. Like, this is a difficult concept to understand, but ultimately, you are going to cross multiply, and you are going to solve for the missing piece. Okay?